And it was on this night, April 29th, 2021, at 1 a.m. I know, I sleep horribly. It's been a crazy day, to be honest. I finished a book, even though I had an update not that long ago saying that I would not be able to finish a book before exams. Oops. It went by quickly. It's funny because I had a book club meeting today, and at the book club meeting I was like, yeah, I'm at 40% in the book. Oops. Did not, it went by quick, okay? It's a quick book. And the teacher in that book club, I've said this before, but today I got an update that she's on the last book number 6. So, yeah. And that should tell you what it is. Jim Butcher's Academ's Fury. I've read it. It flew by. I lost my bookmark. Frick. I don't know where my bookmark is. Okay, I'm gonna have to go look for that. Better than Furies of Calderon. Just to start it off, like, the second book was definitely an improvement off the first book. There's some things that came from the first book that I still don't like, but they're from the first book, so, you know, can't complain all too much. Oh man, I have things to say. I'm gonna try to keep it vague at first, as always, and then I'll call characters out. I do have a critique that was bothering me the entire book, and it's not, I mean, it makes sense, you know. It might even be a theme, for all we know, but it's just like a pet peeve. Anyway, let's start off. Better than Furies of Calderon. Okay. It's longer. It's 700 pages. It's about 702 pages. It's long. Still has some of those joking moments and some of those ooh moments. There's a lot of that. And there's a lot of, oh my god, you idiot. You idiot. You idiot. And I do have a new record for the stupidest thing I've ever heard a character doing. It didn't end up mattering as much as I thought it would, but that character was stupid. That's next level stupid. So, new record there. It's probably going to get beaten very soon. One of the things I liked about this book, but I can see other people maybe not liking, is that it was chaotic. It was hectic. In the first maybe 10 or so chapters of the book, there was about 9 conflicting plot lines, all against each other, which is crazy. It's really hard to manage, but he did it. He did it well. So, yeah, there's a lot of this, and this, and this are all happening. And this could lead to this, but also conflicts with this, and it could lead to this. It is very complex. So you kind of had to just go on the ride and not make guesses, kind of thing. And he superseded some expectations. You're like, oh, this is going to be the cliche save the day. No, did not happen. No cliche save the day. So he's watching. He knows. He's breaking some of those, like, oh, this is going to happen. And it doesn't happen. So, but, yeah, it was very complex. From the very beginning, I was like, oh my god, there's so much happening. But it wasn't too much, and it wasn't overdone. So, yeah, I do like that about this book. It was very, it had a lot in it. It really did. It had a lot. Now, okay, another thing that I never realized would be a pet peeve, but it feels wrong, and I'm trying to find it. I can straight up show it, because it's not like you guys will be able to read the words. Oh, come on, where was it? What chapter am I on? Okay. There it is. Oh my gosh, okay. I never knew this would bother me that much, but it does. It's a it's a paragraph long chapter. It's the entire chapter is like that big. What is that? Who does that? Jim Butcher does, apparently. I remember reading that. I was like, really? We had an entire chapter for one paragraph? I guess he wanted to remind the audience, hey, these characters still exist, by the way, and they're still in this situation. But one paragraph? That's just taunting. Okay, it's taunting. It's like, look at all these things I could be talking about, but nope, you're gonna read a different perspective before we get there. Along those same lines, he was really, really good at hyping up for fights. There were a lot of fights, believe you me. He was really good at hyping up for fights, and then cliffhanger, and switching back to another perspective. He had a lot of perspectives to switch between, so yeah. I mean, I guess he didn't have a lot, but it was enough. He could start like a freaking war in one chapter, and then go through 4 other perspectives before you come back to that. So, but he did it well. He always like hyped you up and then cliffhanger, but then you keep reading. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing or both, but there's times where I'll finish a chapter in like Tavi's perspective, main character. I'll finish a chapter in Tavi's perspective, and it'll switch to like Isana's perspective, and I'll kind of like, I'll be sad that it's Isana's perspective. It's like, oh, darn it, I wanted more of Tavi's perspective, or I wanted Amara's perspective. You know, I don't want to read Asana's perspective. So then you read Asana's perspective quickly to get to another perspective, but then her perspective turns out to be good anyway, and it makes you keep reading. Because you're like, damn it, I want to get back to Tavi. He's in a serious situation, or whatever's going on. So yeah. At first, the beginning of the book, I was a little bit worried. There were some signs of some weird character development that I didn't like. There are 3 character development things at the beginning of the book I did not like, and it scared me. And then it never happened again. So, I will say that. And one of those character developments is still that looming one from before, from book 1. It still doesn't sit right with me. It's fine. It's going to happen now, either way. But, you know. And then my actual pet peeve, to go back to the pet peeve I was talking about. There were so many times in this book where somebody explained the same thing 5 times and the characters still didn't get it, even though they said it right to their face. That became a pet peeve really quickly. It was just so repetitive. It's like, okay, here are the enemies, and they can do this, 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 and this, and this. And the character's like, they can do what? They can do this, 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 and this, and this. And then 2 chapters later, they're like, remind me, what can they do again? And I get that they're like foreign races, alright? It's hard for him to convey things to her, or to them, I guess. It's hard for him, of a different race, to convey things to these people of another race, because their language doesn't match up, but it was clear what he was saying, right? Like, he was translating it perfectly. And it was so clear. I got it in like a sentence. I understood what he was saying. And they asked like 5 or 6 times the same thing over and over again. It was too much. So that became a pet peeve. And I get that like maybe humans are stupid and slow is kind of the point, but oh, they were so stupid and so slow that it became he seriously, there were multiple, there were like different things too. It wasn't just the two races. There were other examples where somebody explained the same thing multiple times over and over again, and they still didn't get it. It's one of those things where the reader, like, very quickly understands what's going on. So, I think maybe those repeated too many times. So, yeah. That became a pet peeve. I actually once turned on caps lock and ranted about it. It is a little bit much, so I will say that. That isn't necessarily like a big critique against the book. It stuck with me. So, anything else before I get into characters? I wasn't expecting, this is kind of getting characters, but I'm not going to say any of the names. I was kind of expecting to meet one of the creatures we meet in this book a lot later in the series, but no, we met him in this one. So, it's interesting. Alright, characters, i.e. spoilers. Alright, so one of those character developments at the beginning of the book that I didn't like was Gaius. I really liked, what little time we saw him. I really liked, the attitude and how Gaius carried himself in book 1. And then, in this book, that changed pretty quickly. Gaius was not, did not have the same attitude, was not really the nice kind of person I envisioned at all. It kind of, ruined my image of him. And then the end of the book, it came back. And so maybe it was, a matter of his mental mindset at that time or whatever. But at the beginning of the book, that unsettled me. I was like, this character's not what I envisioned. So, there's that. Along the same lines as Isana, Isana's character got some sudden, I hate these people, I hate these people, I hate these people kind of thing. I never saw, I might have just missed it to be honest, but I never saw any hints, if yours at Calderon, that she despised the First Lord. I didn't think she despised Gaius. And then in this book, it's she despises him. So it felt sudden. It's possible I just missed it. Once again, maybe I just was blind. But in this book, at the very beginning of the book, it just went, bam, she hates him. It's okay, I'll see where this is going, I guess. So it was very in your face about it. And then, obviously, the same one that I didn't like in Fears of Calderon was Fade. I get it. And it makes logical sense, because, he died in Calderon, and then he became a slave in Calderon. It makes sense. And I get that there still may be a sub-theme of destiny and all that, and, following your instincts and blah, blah. I just still don't like Fade's storyline overall. I still think it's a bit much. It's he's the greatest swordsman in the world, but he can't reveal a sword. Shit. And I will say something about that. It's not that it's unbelievable, but... And there's that theme of, destiny, free will, blah, blah, blah. There always happens to be the most skilled something near Tabby. So, it's interesting. I love Kitai. I love her. A lot. I really like her. When it was revealed that she was the Black Cat, I was like, yes! Yes! I had a little celebratory moment. It was exciting, so. I do really like her. She's just enjoyable. And I really want to learn more about her and her kind, so. Chala. I think that's a very interesting word. Chala. Alright, who next? Bernard and Amara. Again, I'm not much for the... Woo, they got married! I'm not that kind of person. I mean, the first book I was I like the two of them together, but, it's we can't follow the customs of being a citizen because this, and this. We have to break up. And then it was just a little bit drama-y, and I get other people like that. Not me. And again, I don't really care if there's like, yay, they're married. I don't care. I don't see a distinction between what they had before and what they have now. And I'm sure that there's distinctives in politics, which we just don't know in what way yet. I said distinctions in terms of politics, but we don't know what way yet. So yeah, it's kind of like Harry and Murphy getting together was enough for me. Like, I don't care. I'm not gonna like spoil the dress files, just to clarify that. But Harry and Murphy getting together was like enough for me. I would not have ever cared if they got married. I would not care. I don't care if they were together for 30 years and didn't get married. As long as they're together, that's enough. I don't care about the meaning of marriage between them at all. Right? And I'm not saying that's the case for Mara and Bernard, because it's not. But that's just like an example of like, I don't, the significance of that doesn't stand out in my head. I get it in real life. But the characters, I'm just like, they're characters. And I know that's probably not a good mentality to have, but it is what I have. Again, those two aren't the same in my head, by the way. Harry and Murphy are like gods to me. All hail. Amara and Bernard, help me. Bernard. Is kind of my overall take at this point. Maybe it's a little bit dramatic. Just a little bit. So, there is that. I already mentioned Isana. Her character development, again, was kind of loopy for the beginning and maybe even the first half. It jumped around a lot. And then her motives made sense. So I think it just took some time for her motives to make sense. But she had no reason in my head to go to Calares. I don't think anyone had any reason to go to Calares. I think Tavi probably would have been smart enough to wait at the manor rather than to go someplace she could have already left. Like if you know someone is at a party right now and you need to talk to them, would you go to the party to look for them, or would you wait to where you know they're going to go afterward? I would go to where I know where they're going to be afterward, because who knows where they're at the party, if they left, if they went to another party, all those things. But if you wait at the place that you know they have to return to, then you're going to see them. So, I don't know. I think that whole Kalari thing, I know that's not how you say that. I'm sorry. That was, all of it was That fight was kind of heated, but at the same time, I don't know. I know he's gonna come up soon, though. That man, he's still a problem, and I know it. So, there's that. The fact that the third queen is still alive? Grr. Continuing plotline. That's gonna come back to bite everybody. We all know it. So, yeah. I almost, I didn't actually believe it, but I had like a fleeting thought of like, did Butcher forget? I was like, no, he didn't. But there are authors who will forget to wrap up some things. He didn't. He wrapped it up. Nice and neat. I like how calm Gaius was at the end of the book. It's kind of funny. At least to me. Mac's an interesting character. He has some personality and thoughts to him. And he's good with fury crafting. So, I don't know. He's an interesting character to have. Aaron and his other friend that I can't remember the name of right now, help me. They didn't stand out all that much to me. I kind of forgot them. Like, I know that one of them saved Tavi and that they were searching information to find where Asana is and all that, but they're not all that memorable right now. So maybe they'll have a bigger role in the future, or maybe they won't. We'll see about that. Sorry. Is that how you say her name? I have no idea. Sarai? Here, I'm trying to find it. Sarai. I'm just gonna say Sarai. I did not expect Sarai to die. I'll be honest. She kind of felt short-lived. I mean, she had all this political skill, which is a skill I really like to admire in books, is when people can charisma and politics at other characters. I do not like that in real life, believe you me. But if there's like a philosophical character or a character who's good at being a diplomat, which isn't quite what she was doing, I guess. She was like, oh, what a lovely dress. You know, like that cliche, we're pretending to be allies even though we're probably not kind of thing. But off to the side, she was being diplomatic. And I can admire like a diplomatic, here's this person, you should support us kind of thing in books. And she died. So, I don't know. I wonder if she was short-lived, but it also, you know, superseded my expectation, right? So, yeah, caught me off guard. Gotta say that. Fate Elias stealing Isana, did not see that coming, alright? But I like it. Now, what I don't like, and I'm being sarcastic when I say don't like, I do like it, but I swear it's Jim Butcher's hobby, like his favorite hobby, to take bad guys and make them good guys for a while, or make them like the least bad guy. He loves to do that so much. And it's annoying. He does it in Dresden, he does it in Codex Alera. He's like, yeah, I remember this guy who was he was like the main bad guy in the last book, or maybe the secondary bad guy in the last book. Yeah, he's a good guy now, but only for a while, and then he's bad again. And then there's characters who switch back and forth constantly. Examples in Dresden. So, man, he loves to do that, and he does it again and again. So, I noticed. Fate Elias. Bad guy, temporary good guy, bad guy again. So yeah, there were some pretty epic fighting moments, and I really like how crows swarm. That's a small detail, but I like it. I like how it's done. It's actually funny, the Vord, like the Vord as a whole, reminded me a lot of a horror VR game that I saw a long time ago. It's not really identical. They don't look exactly the same, but they both are insectoid. The name of the game is Edge of Nowhere. Again, I watched this like a long time ago. This was like in like 2013 or something. Yeah, in Edge of Nowhere, I guess the people who crashed on this island in like boats and planes and all these things were infected. They were taken, and they grew these like 6 insectoid limbs out of their back that like come to their front, and then there's these layers of mouths with the human head inside. And you know, they acted insectoid and like skittish and all that stuff. And, you know, there are other types of creatures as well who also were taken similarly. But that was kind of the image I first thought when I first read it. And I know it doesn't look the exact same. I have a photo. Cover your eyes if you don't want to see, you know, some ugly horror game thing. It's pretty ugly, gotta be honest. It's pretty ugly. Oh, maybe it's a screenshot. It is a screenshot. Okay. Again, they are pretty ugly, so I warn you. That was kind of what I imagined at first, and I corrected the image to match what Butcher was describing eventually. Focus! Or not. There we go. That kind of works. So, it reminded me of that. And they are taken. Like, that is exactly the situation they're in. They just look different. So, it reminded me of that. And I thought that was interesting. It's a good idea. And then I'm going to call them centipedes. I know they're not centipedes, but the centipedes that infect people, that reminded me of a TV show that my mom and my sister watch. I never watched it because I don't like horror things. I know, I just showed you a horror thing that I watched a long time ago, and now I'm here saying I don't like horror things. But things like what they watched, ugh, disgusting to me. Horrifying. So, they were watching some alien show where aliens were infecting humans. Like, taking teenagers and kids, as I understand it, and they couldn't do adults, I think. Taking teenagers and kids and, like, putting this massive, long worm and leech thing on their spines, and it has, like, spikes, like needle spikes that go into their spines. And then it takes control of their bodies, and the aliens can control them. The spikes make them look like centipedes, so it reminded me of that. Also taking control of people, and then they're not on the inside anymore. Yeah. It's not a good situation. So, moving on from the board, because I don't really like the board. The Academ, I really liked Varg. Okay. I may have been speed reading it, but I don't actually know if Varg is dead, or if no, he's in prison. He's in prison. Okay, I take it back. I know he's not dead. He's in prison. Got it. We're good. We're gonna take that back. I did like Varg, and I really liked Tavi's interactions with him, and how they were kind of like testing each other. I liked that. And I can't believe Tavi didn't understand I have rats in my walls. I mean, like, there's two ways to interpret that. There's, like, I have a rat. And, you know, when Tavi went into the hallway, he heard people gossiping. That's kind of a I have a rat kind of thing. And he never had that thought. Which kind of shocks me. Because, you know, he's smart. And then there's the I have a rat where the centipedes are crawling around. But, in my head, I'm pretty sure Varg would recognize they weren't rats. And you can't have rats in there. And that's why you shouldn't have dark rooms in the first place. Haha. There is sometimes where people were thinking too fast and were foolish because of it, but I think that makes sense. And there's sometimes that people were thinking fairly slow. So you're just like, okay. You're taking a long time to recognize something. Recognize it. Kind of thing. Who else? I kind of gave my opinion of Kalare and the bullies. That's what I think. I think, So, there's that. The examination. Those examinations were oof. We don't actually know what happened to his other exam. I think he had another exam that he was going to miss other than history. Well, that's just flickered. He did take history. And, you know, that was like an opportunity for Butcher to flex, like, romanticism, but in a different context. Romanticism theory inside a different world regarding the Romans. Now, the readers actually know the answer. Especially if you've heard Butcher describe the premise for the series in the first place. You know, the Romans, when the Roman Legion, when it got lost, they were switched to this alternate universe. Codex Alera. But they are Romans, and they can build architecture pretty damn well. So we know the answer. But I really like that. It's just those tiny details. They're really enjoyable, at least to me. I really like when he does that in either series. Oh, I feel like I'm missing a main character. I already talked about Tavi, and I talked about Kit High, who I love. The Aquitaines. Aquitaines I kind of associate with Fidelius. They're bad guys who are doing good things just so that they can be better bad guys later. So, there's that. I don't really like to touch on these topics that often, but I will say that Lord Aquitaine's Fidelius, I'm suspicious of you moment, that was a little bit funny to me. Because if Fidelius gets in trouble, when he actually fired Fidelius, what would Fidelius do if he was fired? So that's kind of what my brain's going with there. He did say this conversation will continue, and then it never continued. So, it kind of felt pointless, but oh well. Okay, now is there anybody else? I feel like that covers most people. I feel bad for Eric, I'll be honest. He was like a half bad guy in the last book, and then, he got taken in this book, which is oof. We learned that people are horrible medics if they can't watercraft. Without watercrafting, they can't do shite. So, that's a thing. Oh, the other detail I really liked is that people, people outside of the cities, out in the country, will name their Furies, and people in the cities don't name their Furies. I really like that detail. And I would totally name my Fury, just to get that out there. I would. We never got to know if Gyarados' storm would have attacked the Ford. That upsets me. I feel like we still know little about Gyarados. We know it gets upset the two mountains, or the mountain and the storm creator, the Storm Fury. I think they team up. The two of them together are upset when there's people on their land. But what I'm wondering is, I know that you have to respect a Fury that big. That's kind of the premise of the series. Is it possible to control those Furies, or do you have to work with them? Does the Lord... I almost said the Lord Ruler, help me. Does the First Lord have to make a could you please do this for me compromise kind of thing in order to get a Fury that important to do anything? By the way, the storms are still brewing, aren't they? Or did the storms go away now that... I can't remember who was the one who's feeding the storms, but someone's feeding the storms. Now that they're not doing it. That's a good question. I want to say the Academ were, but I think they hired someone else to do it for them. Anyway. Has the storm stopped brewing? That's a good question. I don't actually know the answer to that. There was a very brief mention at the beginning of the series that the Icemen were back. Or at the beginning of the series. At the beginning of the book that the Icemen were back. That never came up again. So that is intriguing. Icemen. Dun dun dun. I already mentioned this, but I do really like the Chalba idea between Kitai and Tavi. It explained the eye switch, which confused me in the first book a lot. I was like, what in the hell is happening here? I get it now. And also, Walker is the best animal I've ever read in a series. And yes, that means more than Mouse, but Mouse is almost tied. The problem is that Mouse is a food dog, and Walker is a Gargant. I think Gargants are freaking awesome, and I love it. So, they're just a Walker. It's pretty awesome. So, really like Walker. I don't think there's much else. I mean, Killian was kind of interesting. Butcher really threw me for a loop when when Tabby like failed his exams and then it turned out that he did it on purpose. Dun dun dun. Threw me for a loop there. That was good. I want you to catch this thief. This kid died the whole time. I like how Tabby's accidental mention that she's a ambassador actually that came through, and also that just all of Kitai. I loved everything about her. All of her development, that she's trying to learn humans, and she's kind of come to the conclusion that humans are freaking crazy. She's not wrong. Like, we are insane. If you were to take our society and try to understand all the contradictions and everything that's in it, I'm pretty sure any foreign anything would think that we're freaking insane. Like, yeah, she had it on point when she was talking about those contradictions. She was like, you guys do this, but you're also this, and you're this, and you're also this. It's like, she's not wrong, man. We are weird. Insane. So I really liked that. Now, I don't think there's anything else. I like the idea of having the deeps. I don't know, the entire time it's reminding me of something, but I could never place my finger on what the deeps reminded me of. And yes, I get that he called them the deeps. There's deeps in Dresden, but they're different. So, it didn't escape me. They really remind me of something. I mean, like, technically Harry Potter had, like, a few, but not nearly this extensive kind of thing. So, you know, it's more interesting. I kind of want to see a depiction of the Capitol. Like a picture of what the Capitol looks like. It seems like it's gotta be super cool looking. Like, a top-down view only does so much. I want to see, like, a picture of what it looks like from the side angle. I'm obviously not an artist. I just wish an artist would do that. Man, it would be pretty damn cool. So yeah. I also like how the streets are organized. You know, those details that we gotta learn about the Capitol. That's cool. Yeah. Tavi not being able to get breakfast. That sucks. I feel bad for Tavi at the beginning of the book. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't eat. Like, I don't eat all that often, and it's kind of unhealthy for me, and I know it. But he didn't have a choice. You know, like, every time he was about to eat, even when he had it right in front of him, he couldn't. I feel bad for him, man. Fiddleize is purposely choosing not to. There is a theme in this book. Going back to Fiddleize, this may be my last point. It seemed like there was, like, an idea in this book that Fiddleize can't feel emotion, and then he felt emotion 3 times? And so maybe it's like he's becoming more human or whatever. I don't really know what the purpose of that was. It kind of felt weird, and I kind of just felt, In the end, he can develop however he wants to develop. I did like that he was like, take that, girl, at Lady Aquitaine at the end of the book. That was funny. And Gaius does have this, like, all-knowing kind of stature around him. Not all that all-knowing, but pretty all-knowing. And, finally, the very end of the book. The idea it leaves you with, it makes you wonder. What were they talking about? Obviously, they're talking about Tabby. And they were like, if Tabby doesn't get power, it can't be him. Who's him? Talking about, you know, an heir? Or are they talking about some prophecy or something like that? I don't know. But I am intrigued. So yeah, that is Academ's Fury by Jim Butcher. You know, a week before the exams. Binge read in 2 and 3 hours. 2 days and 3 hours. about. It was good. It was good. A lot better than Furious Cauldron. Not that Furious Cauldron was bad. This is just better. So, yeah. And here's what the cover looks like. I actually, even after reading the book, the cover doesn't make all that much sense to me. Maybe those are like the different plot lines coming out of the wall. Yeah, the cover's a little bit misleading. So, yeah. So, that's the end of all that. I usually talk about what I'm going to read next. Man, I wonder what I'm going to read next. Man, I wonder. I think the storm is going to be important this one. I read the first 5 words of the back. I usually don't read the back. I couldn't help it. I read the first 5 words of the back. It said Calare on it, and that's all I need to know about this book. I think the storm is coming back in this one. So the storm and Calare, crazy things are going to happen in this. So, yay. I'm excited to join Tabby again. I'm afraid, though, that I'm not even going to read the prologue until Monday night. Because if I read the prologue now, I'm not going to study the next 4 days. The next 4 days. IS4. So, yeah. Oh, yes. Okay, so 2 final comments. This is my next book. And after this book, man, I wonder what I'm going to read. I think it is doable. I have 3 comments, actually. I think it is doable for me to finish Codex Alera by the end of the year. Given that I read this in, 2 days and 3 hours with school. This book is actually smaller. Not by all that much. It's like 20 or 30 pages smaller. At most. But, yeah. I think this is actually one of the biggest books in Codex Alera until First Lord. Maybe Princeps is the size or bigger. But I think both Captains and Cursors are smaller. Anyway, I think it is feasible for me to finish this, especially after next week. So that's exciting. Second comment is that I had that book club meeting today, as I said, and in the book club meeting today, the book I read for book club was Guernsey and the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. There we go. And one of the questions we asked the group was, would you recommend this book to somebody? Which I realized I don't really recommend books a lot during this. Obviously, I recommend Jim Butcher in every way. Go read him. There may be parts you don't like, but he'll stick. I think a lot of the time the author will stick with you. So, but I realized I don't, recommend books a lot, and I realized that, maybe I should. So, about Guernsey and the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, the book. As a group, we decided that we would not recommend it. All of us said we wouldn't. We all had basically similar reasons, but some with different reasons. I would not recommend it to anybody I know. It's a weird format. I mean, it's not... I like that it's unique, and I like that they tested it and tried it out. The pacing of the book is a bit awkward. And, romance is basically one of the main genres. There's, historical fiction / romance. And romance is, the overarching idea, and then they fit in some historical fiction. The historical fiction is what I liked about the book the most. I actually learned quite a bit about World War II in a way from that. Romance is not my thing. Not like that. I can read Romance in Dresden, Codex Alera. It's like, oh, Bernard and Lara. It's not my kind of thing. that book was like, that was like the theme. Like, that's what it's about to an extent. So, you know, the main character's with this one guy, but she doesn't want to be this one guy because he's overambitious and just wants a trophy wife. Or I don't even know what was going on with him. He didn't even feel that realistic a person, honestly, especially after World War II. He felt out of place for like the months after World War II, being like, I'm happy. So, just saying. And then we have like, this is obviously the person you like, but you guys are both oblivious to you guys liking each other. You know, which is a familiar plot line, believe you me. But that was like the entire story. And again, the pacing is weird. The beginning goes super slow. For a long time, it just drags on and on and on. And then the very end goes boom. Like, it goes so fast. It's also unbelievable. So, I didn't like how it concluded. But also, there's a problem of how else would you conclude that book? They're not wrong. It is a hard book to conclude. And so they did a rush conclusion, which I didn't like. But anyway, I wouldn't recommend the book. If it sounds interesting to you, then read it, as always. If you think it's interesting, then try it. That's my overarching idea. But I would not recommend it to people I know, kind of thing. So I thought I'd say that. And the other thing I thought I'd say is that my review of that book, The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, I only recorded the audio and not the video. So it's going to be a while before I figure out what I want to do about that. Oopsie. But I did record it, and I have a review. Let's see how long it is. I think it's like maybe 50 minutes, 45 minutes. It's not all that bad compared to others.
This is terribly irresponsible of me, so I'm sorry. But I am just doing an audio recording this time with some photos because I forgot.
It's 22 minutes long. That's how long my review for that book is. I think my shorter reviews tend to be things that I don't have as much to talk about. The Stranger, I drew out that review, and it wasn't all that long compared to other books, so, oof. So yeah, that's my third and final comment for today. So, remember, it's the 29th of 2021. I'll be getting to Curses. Man, it is way too early in the morning for this. Okay. I'll be starting Cursor's Fury on... What day is Monday? The 3rd. May 3rd. Which is exciting. I actually have a few things to do this weekend as well on top of studying, so it will be a little bit hectic. But hopefully I'll feel ready for my exams, which are gonna suck. But oh well. Either way, I'm gonna be taking them. And then I'll be done. It'll be over. So, yeah. I don't have anything else to say. So, bye-bye. Keep reading. And I will be back relatively soonish, maybe. Bye.